I want to switch gears a little bit, Thomas. So how is it for somebody coming in from Europe into the US and especially from a conversation around sustainability? I mean, when I remember I was in Germany for the K Show in 2019, and FT had a full-page ad from one of the large US-based integrated oil chemical majors, and it was all focused on sustainability. And the very next day, the Wall Street Journal had a quote from the CEO of the company talking about how their focus would continue to be hydrocarbon resources, right? So there's a significant disconnect, but I'm curious, right, from your perspective as somebody who's spent most of his time in Europe and you're coming into the US, how do you see the sustainability conversation in both of the places?
I would say the sustainability conversation is much more prevalent in Europe. It's a little bit what Bob talked about earlier. In Europe, you have the stick, and here you have the carrot, right? So in Europe, it's more advanced, I would say, than what I have experienced so far here. We in Borealis, we have invested in a couple of mechanical recycling facilities and also a chemical recycling facility lately. And we put very clear targets into how much volume growth we want to see in the sustainable solution space, in the circular economy space. It's also in Europe very much driven by legislation. As a European, just coming here, not having to separate your waste is a very basic example, right, of a big change coming to Houston. I don't know how many waste bins we have at home in Europe. It's probably 5 different ones, right? So there's definitely that mindset change that is needed as well. But it is a challenge because when you deal with recycling materials, it's also a challenge to find the source, the feedstock as well, of that material.
Yeah.
So even though we want to drive that change quickly and fast, let's say the infrastructure is probably not quite there yet, even in Europe, where you have more recycling than what you have here in North America. But again, the US is very big, so every state differs as well, right? So that's important to point out too.
So is it just the conversation that is different, or do you also see material differences in the way sustainability is being approached by chemical companies in the US versus Europe?
I think the urgency to act, I feel, is probably higher in Europe than what it is here. I think that definitely will come, but it's probably going to happen in a slightly different way than what we see in Europe. So as you said, when you were in Europe, when you travel around, you talk to people, the first conversation you have is about sustainability. But at the same time, here in the US, I don't see that, or I don't have those conversations quite yet, but I'm sure they will come here too.
Thanks, Thomas. Nathan, how does sustainability and circular economy and recycling impact Nexeo?
Sure, hugely. So, we are not immune to that, and I think distribution plays a unique role there. And there's some advantages, right? As this takes off, especially in the U.S., where it's in its infancy stages, and really only niche brands, higher value brands, or eco brands are looking heavily and willing to pay a large premium for it. The volumes are small, right? And distribution is really great at doing those small businesses. So I think that's a big part. And the other places, and Bob mentioned it earlier, I think we don't know what's going to win, right? I think we hope it's polyolefins, right? I'm a polyethylene guy at heart, right? We hope chemical recycling and everything else is, or other options with PCR are the savior. We hope it's going to be. But as distribution, we do have a broad line card and portfolio of sustainable options, and we're able to look at different companies coming in to the market and say, hey, we're willing to give this a try for a couple of years, see if that takes off, really incubate some things and understand which ones are going to be the winners. But at the same time, so there's some PLA, other type products that are going into single-use packaging. We're seeing success there. At the same time, all of our major polyolefin partners are working in some way on PCR. and they're all working on chemical recycling, which is obviously a little bit further off. So I definitely see distribution as a good incubator and scale up arm as our suppliers invest and scale up their divisions going forward.
And do you see that mainly as a reactive, opportunistic strategy today? And there's no value judgment in that question, right?
Sure.
I mean, every business has its own business model, but do you see that mainly distributors reacting and opportunistically serving these needs, or are there distributors who are going in and saying, we are going to spend 20% of our time on a dedicated basis to kind of grow the business here or develop relationships here? How do you see that?
No, I think it's, obviously everything is hopefully listening to the customer need, right, that we're hearing across the table. But I don't think it's reactive. I don't think, I can speak for Nexeo, I don't think we're being drug along, right, by our customers. We're excited about it. We see the growth potential. Certain, we were talking about certain market segments earlier that, are good or bad. Nothing's growing at the pace of sustainable solutions. I think, if we look at the two biggest options, it's EVs and sustainable solutions for growth. And as you look at growth, that's where you want to be. And so sustainability is an opportunity versus, something we're just reacting to.
Okay. Thomas, Borealis has made a lot of investments in and around circular technologies. Can you maybe give us a little bit of an overview, or maybe talk about something that you find particularly exciting?
Yeah, so we made investments already back in 2016 into mechanical recycling. So we have two mechanical recycling plants in our portfolio. Just recently, we increased our shareholding in a company called Renaski, which is located in Belgium. They have a quite unique recycling technology. They have several processes within their facility, which means that they can take a very varied waste streams. You don't need a pure waste stream. They can take waste that consists of different types of waste into their process, and they're able to recycle a lot of the content. So at the end of their process, you end up with only 5% that is not recoverable. So it's a very good return on that process, the feedstock that you put in. So that facility then enables us to supply chemical recycled material to one of our cracker facilities in Finland. So in addition to that, I think you'll see a lot of these smaller incremental investments. I don't think you will see larger investments from the beginning, but of course you're looking to scale these things up, right, so that you get more output. So that will take time to develop the technology and the efficiency, and also securing, as I said, the feedstock supply to make that happen. But for the time being, I think you will see a lot of these smaller incremental investments. Then you will adapt and try to find that best technology in order to scale it up into something larger.
That's helpful. Nathan, so one of the things I noticed when I was researching you guys up ahead of this panel was the solutions, services, offerings at Nexeo. Can you talk a little bit about that? And maybe also, is that driven is that for margin expansion, or is that more like customer retention? What is the underlying driver for those offerings?
Sure, thanks. I think it's both, customer retention, but also growth opportunities for revenue. As I said, we want to be, an easy button for our suppliers and our customers. So we're always willing to listen to any idea that comes about. I mean, we've evaluated, and in the past, as Nexeo Solutions, we had circular reverse logistics, where we were, picking things up from customers and bringing them back, and enabling the supplier to create industrial, reuse for those products. At the same time, we do look at opportunities to partner to grow revenue in any way we can. We're not going to do everything. We're not going to be everything to everyone, but we do want to solve customers and suppliers' issues, beyond just being a warehouse and a sales force, right? That manifests itself in different ways. And then on the technology or the technical side, right? I mean, we do feel like we have a best-in-class technical organization that is not just reactive and picking up the phone. We do have those people, but they're more inside. Our outside people are solving issues for our customers on the floor from the technical service perspective. And then the ADE fleet, both from a corporate accounts perspective, working with the largest OEMs globally, working with their engineers to really develop the best-in-class solutions and material selections for their new projects. And then also within the regions on a smaller scale, there's a lot of mid-tier OEMs that mom and pop OEMs that we also want to target to really make sure that we're pulling through the suppliers' products into these new projects that are launching.
And where has been the biggest uptake? Where have you seen? So you offer a menu of services, right? Where have you seen the most interest in the market?
Yeah, I think the biggest interest has been in risk mitigation. So we have a whole slew of ways to risk mitigate for our suppliers. So this
is risk mitigating supply into them.
Correct. Yeah. So and that's done various ways, right? I mean, we have opened warehouses specifically for customers or OEMs where they want that proximity of supply, where they need to be within a couple of hours. We've also invest in our private fleet so we don't have to depend on third parties. So, but there's safety stock, there's tenant agreements, there's all kinds of things that we look to do to make sure that our suppliers, especially after the freeze, I mean, the freeze changed things, and we forget quickly, right? Because supply gets long, very quickly. But those things have definitely been on the forefront, and regardless of if supply is long or short, they know it's going to come again, and they're asking for solutions to do that. So I would argue risk mitigation strategies from dual supply. Again, sometimes that means not just being with one supplier that we have on our line card, but a secondary supplier. I think anything off the Gulf Coast is interesting for any of our customers as they've been burned a few times, right, with the freeze and hurricanes.